Hey folks, this is Randy Shea, resident citizen taxpayer of the town of Victor and the village of Victor. I just wanted to give you an update on the biggest story that was not covered, biggest story probably in a decade in Victor, New York. It's really sad that although I along with some other people tried to get the news to cover it, they chose not to. And that is a story about how the town of Victor has been planning Victor Insulators out of business. The company, a business that's been here for 130 years. And what I mean by that is the Surface Transportation Board recently got notified that they wanted to abandon the tracks all the way into Farmington. Now that was not part of any plan talked about in the village or the town of Victor. As best I know, there hasn't been any kind of vote one way or the other at the town or the village, and I did go to the town and village to make absolutely positively sure that they could come out on the right side of history. It wasn't too late for them to submit their opinion, a public opinion period with the Surface Transportation in Washington, D.C. that would say, we don't like this, it's not a good thing for Victor and the village and the town. Now, on the bright side, I will say that, the advocacy of me and many, if you look at the surveys that were done, Victor residents, mostly Victor, some Farmington, but predominantly Victor residents, did not like the idea of taking out the rails if it meant Victor Insulator could be put out of business. So that's the new news that they chose not to cover. Now, they might now cover the story, but it's actually after the fact. The public comment period is over. The town officials chose not to say anything. So I'm going to still say, if, for instance, they do abandon the tracks and it does hurt Victor Insulators, that I was right. The town of Victor government representatives planned Victor Insulator, at least the demise of it to the extent maybe out of business, but adversely impacting them. And so, well, anyway, I'm covering the story. Unfortunately, none of the local news sources chose to pick up on the story. They were aware of it. They chose not to. And so that's part of the story. Getting them to cover it. I went to Messenger Post newspaper. I did submit a request, or that they might do a story, and or I might put in a letter myself, letter to the editor about it. But anyway, when I went there, there was an advertisement for Labella architectural design. This is nothing bad, not saying anything bad about Labella. I think they're doing exactly what I would do if I was in business, to promote and continue development in our area, because that's their business and that's where they make the money, servicing developers predominantly. But they sort of probably had a little extra say, because newspapers are businesses too. They don't want to lose advertisers, right? I don't know. But was that part of the decision? I don't know. I'll never know that answer. But what I do know is that the town's paid them a ton of money for what I think is a severely flawed plan, or they call it a plan. I don't know what they're calling it anymore. I don't think it's been voted on. So there's some problems here. I pointed out in 2019 to the town government that it was kind of strange to have a firm that was so involved in local development right here in the town, in the village of Victor and Farmington, etc. Because, well, they're not developers, and that's where the town supervisor caught me. I said they were developers. They're not. They're an architectural design firm, pro-development. Yes, everything I said was right. But they service developers. At least that used to be what they did. Now they're also getting into municipal, servicing municipalities and stuff. I think Victor might have been their first client. I don't know all the details. I'm not blaming Labella at all. I'm just saying that the people that let us down are all of the town officials. They do a lot of great stuff, make a lot of good decisions on a whole, but this is a terrible one. It's a travesty that they did not take advantage of the public comment period. Surface Transportation Board could decide not to allow the abandonment, which would be good. But I want it to be on the record that their omission, not saying anything, I even said to the village board, you know, if you're in favor of it, come out in favor. If you're opposed, come out opposed. You're elected to be our voice on issues like this. And all we heard was nothing. And so that's the largest story in the last decade in Victor, New York that was not covered, and it's just plain sad.